Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about issue number 14 of X-Men from the Ashes, written by Jed MacKay. But before we dive into the story, I want to ask you a favor. If you enjoy this video, please leave a like and a comment to help the channel grow. So with that said, issue number 14 of X-Men starts off in the factory of Alaska with Cyclops having a conversation with the liaison of the nearby town. And during their talk the liaison said, "I appreciate you making yourself available." To which Cyclops replied by saying, "If the town needs the X-Men, then the X-Men are available." So with the pretense out of the way, Chief Red Ben continued to say, "I know things are difficult with you and the federal government right now. But the simple fact is that we need every resource we can put together, and you've got a spaceship." Following that statement, Scott had to ask if this was a medical emergency, because if it was, the Marauder could be parked at any hospital in minutes. But that was when the chief went on to say, "No, nothing like that. I need you on search and rescue. We've got a missing kid, and I'm afraid she's gone into the wild." Now this should go without question, because of course Scott was down to help, and all he needed was a description. To which the chief replied by saying, "It's a 13-year-old girl with brown hair and brown eyes. You might even have seen her. Her mom's one of those anti-mutant crazies. The girl's name is Piper Cobb." Now just as a refresher, Cobb was a young girl who was first seen back in issue number 6 of X-Men when the child was caught throwing up the Midnight M. But anyway, on the next page, we pick up with the team on the hunt, as the Marauder fly high in the sky with Quentin saying, "I told you. I'm not picking her mind up anywhere." But see, in a search for a child, that wasn't good enough, so of course, Scott told him to cast his net wider. So with those orders given, Quentin then went on to say, "I'm doing a wideband psychic scan of every thinking life form in the area. And there is no sentient mind here, so either the kid isn't here or worse." Now this was something Scott didn't want to hear, because this child meant a lot to Heidi, so it's their responsibility to do all they could. So because of that, Quentin went on to say, fine, I'll keep the search pattern and apply good old eyeballs to it. Speaking of which, you do know I wear glasses, right?" Which was something Scott already considered because Quentin wasn't the only one looking, for Jen was also deployed on this mission, and she was having the time of her life as she soared through the air. And as Jen flew, she thought she would have needed time to practice, but taking flight came as easily as walking. Now this led Beast to say, "Well, it would appear that when you alter your taxonomic kingdom, the new physiological features are accompanied by certain instinctual knowledge. Fascinating really. Between your Hawkeyes and your instinctual prey drive, your raptor form should help in your search. Just try not to get carried away and dive bomb Piper if you find her. She's a person, not a mouse." So as the search was underway, Temper crossed her arms and in frustration stated, "Quentin and Jen are out there looking for Piper, and the rest of us are just sitting here." To which Scott replied by saying, "There are fast movers, covering the most ground. When they locate her, then we teleport out." But even with Scott logic laid out, Heidi still went on to say, "She asked us for help, and we didn't give her any. Sent her back to her crazy mutant hater mother, and now she is gone. So if her home is so bad that she had to walk into the wilderness? If she thought that was the only choice left for her? That's on all of us, that's on the X-Men." Following that outburst of emotion, Heidi started to walk away and stated, "I'm taking Corsair's jet bike out there and I'll figure it out along the way." So with Heidi gone, Scott asked Psylocke what was her thoughts on the situation, to which she answered by saying, "She's young and she's worried, and more importantly, she is physiologically incapable of freezing to death. Let her go, it's what she needs right now." Now with all that going down, we then transition over to Ben on the next page talking to Magneto. And during their conversation, Ben states, "It's all a numbers game. Probabilities. And I know probabilities. Finance, markets, it's all probabilities. 2 X-Men looking for 1 kid, the odds are ridiculous. But if I put a couple of dozen UFOs in the sky?" But right before Ben could do that, Magneto interrupted him and asked Ben to walk with him for a minute. And once he agreed, Magneto said, "He thinks it's time we talked. I have been trying with limited success to take you under my wing. Can you think of why I should do such a thing?" To which Ben replied by saying, "Well, older men have always been a particular weakness of mine." Now this causes Magneto to reply by saying, "This is not a time to be amusing. You've been eager to be a part of what we do here. You've shown shockingly little difficulty in adapting to having been made a mutant." With that statement made, Ben replied by saying, "I'm a gay Chinese American. I've always been made to feel like an outsider. And outsiders are never fully safe. So I got very good at making money, because money was a kind of power, and power protects an outsider. Not that it protected me from 3K. But being a mutant is just another shade of being an outsider, and it comes with its own power. I just have to figure it out. I just have to master it. With that out there, Magneto went on to say, "You laid siege to a city without even fully comprehending what you were doing. Your mutant gift is one of tremendous power and risk. That is something I am familiar with. But you also have little control over it. That is also something I am familiar with. Mutants with tremendous power are needed by our people. And if my power cannot be relied on to protect mutants anymore, we must ensure that yours can." So following Ben and Magneto's conversation, we then transitioned back to the search with an individual overlooking the Marauder crossing the sky. And as it flew, the mysterious man said, "This is the means." The X-Men got their bird in the air, standard search and rescue pattern. No covers intact. Psychic camo kept their sneaky thinkers off me. The man replied by saying, "Negative, they haven't found the subject yet, unless they're keeping up the search pattern to throw of observers. That's best guess." Well, if you want to know so bad, figure out how to compromise their psychoms, then sell it. And on the next page, we then see a member of 3K replied by saying, "Do not presume to lecture me, means. You bring nothing to the great table, you are a weapon, nothing more. You aren't even a mutant." Now this caused Means to say, "Maybe not, zealot. But you needed someone who knew how to kill mutants bad enough, you offered a seat at the great table. And the legacy virus has got nothing on me." With that statement out there, Cassandra replied with, "Do you think that impresses me? No one has more mutant blood on their hands than I do. Remember, you are there to allow the subject to act unimpeded and to oversee the test." And then Means ended their conversation by saying, "And actually, you know what? I'll take care of the X-Men psychoms myself, and you can call me Wire." And just like that, we see an old face return back to the fold as Wire stands ready to do his worst. But before he could, we transitioned over to the middle of the woods with Piper running in the snow, saying she has to find it, and she has to be free. So with Piper continuing her search, we then see Temper racing through the woods asking Quentin and Jen if they have any additional information. To which Quentin stated, "Nothing yet, but look, don't worry, we'll find her." To that Temper responded by saying, "She's just a kid, a human little kid. She doesn't have mutant powers or spaceships or anything, and it's cold." So with that out there, Quentin continued to say, "Look, I'm not good at this, you know this. I'm bad at comforting people. It's one of the reasons we broke up, remember? But all we have to do is find her. No matter how bad she is, as long as she's alive, Zorn and McCoy can fix her up." And at that moment, Quentin gets a hit on Piper's location. And once that happened, Temper immediately started to beeline towards her location. But just as Quentin started to relay that data, he noticed that someone locked a target on him. And before he could react, Wire opened fire and blew the Marauder out of the sky. And just like that, the Psychoms was down and Quentin was falling out the sky. Now this forced Scott to switch to condition red and prepared for the worst. So in response to this situation, Magic teleported Kane and Zorn alongside herself straight to Temper's location. And with no time to waste, Temper informed Magic of where the Marauder went down, and then continued to say that they could go without her, cause she had to track the girl. Now this ticked Magic off, because one of their own went down and Temper's mind is on other things. But see, just because Magic was mad at Temper, didn't mean that Kane seen it the same way. Because he even went as far as to tell Temper to go and find the girl. Which got Magic even angrier. So angry that Magic turned her rage towards him, but he quickly calmed her down by saying, "Not everyone is as mean as us. Quentin used to be important to her, so if he is dead, do you really want to make her see the body?" So with that explained, Magic got quiet, and when she spoke, she said, "Whatever, let's go make sure there's enough of Quentin left to heal. And then let's find who shot our ship down and make sure there isn't." Now with the team split into two, Cyclops informed the rest of the factory by saying, "Until new information proves otherwise, we are under attack. The Marauder is down, Quentin Kid Omega is missing, and Psychoms are inoperative. We are on war footing, be ready for anything." So with the factory ready for war, we then jump back over to Temper finally finding Piper located near the Acanti that was shot down a few issues ago. And despite Piper outbreak, Temper attempted to try to warm Piper, but to her surprise, the child wasn't even cold. And then out of nowhere, a strange voice came from Piper saying, "I didn't want anyone to know, not even her." So I changed her blood and hair, so he'd think we were normal, not mutant. This led Temper to ask who is her. Which, the voice replied with, Piper, my twin. I didn't want Piper to know because she ate me, absorbed me before we were born. All this time hiding in her body, but with all this meat. Now I can have a body. And I won't have to hide anymore. And this issue comes to an end with Temper facing an unknown threat while the rest of the team battles Cassandra Nova's and 3K's enforcer, Wire. Now down in the comment section below, let me know your thoughts about this issue and what predictions you could have moving forward. So with that established, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please don't forget to leave a like and a comment if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.